All right, on today's episode, we are going to be talking about how to navigate difficult relationships, difficult conversations with people that you either work with, or you can apply this really to friends and family as well. A couple of caveats here. First of all, if you can hear, I'm just getting over a cold, so I don't always love recording, but you do what you got to do. So if you hear a little bit in my voice, just getting over a cold, which I know so many people are. I feel like so many people have so many things going around here, especially in Wisconsin, where I am with the cold weather hitting. And another exciting thing, totally not related to what we're talking about, but I am super excited that I will be getting back into my home office setup pretty soon. If you were just a listener of the podcast, then you probably don't really know. I think I've talked about it before on the podcast, but also if you watch the videos, I always tend to have different backgrounds, right? Because I'm always kind of working from different locations as we've been doing kind of construction / renovation things on our home. And I haven't had my home office for recording podcasts in a while. So I am super excited for when I get back in there and I will have my shiny new office background and lighting and all the things. But for now, we just make things happen, right? One of the things I have really, really had to learn to let go of as a business owner, as someone who started a podcast, who, launched a business, who tries things, is like, you have to let go of that perfectionism or you just won't do it. Like if I was waiting for every perfect lighting, every perfect situation to be in the perfect spot to know exactly what I want to say every time, I would just literally never release an episode. And so sometimes you just need to bite the bullet, and I've just had to record it and just go with the thing. So that's what we're doing. But I am really excited to start getting back in there and have even, more done up videos and all the things. But I'm really excited today to talk about this and why this is top of mind for me. And I just want to put this sort of out there that my context for talking about this is in work relationships, because I've been hearing this a lot with clients and with organizations that I talk to. However, what we're going to talk about transcends whatever type of relationship it is, because a lot of the things that we're talking about, this could be happening with a friend, this could be happening with a family member, an acquaintance. And so I'm going to kind of reference both. And so hopefully you can see yourself in either situation. But for a little bit of context, one thing that I have really, and of course, we're all unique humans, right? I always say we're all unique humans. We all have our own communication styles. And then you layer in like our own personalities, our own communication styles. And then you lay in environmental and situational factors of added stress, especially like if in organizations you are layering in different departments that have to communicate. You're layering in different stressors that are affecting people, environmental things and organizational changes, stress, people's personal things. So all of these things get layered on and layered on and layered on, and makes it so difficult to have really open, effective communication and dialogue with people, especially in times of stress. And one thing that I'm really noticing a lot when I'm working with my executive coaching clients one-on-one, also when I'm talking to organizations about how we can help them to improve their leadership capabilities and continue to grow their business, there is this huge component right now of a lack of trust within organizations, within like work dynamics and relationships. There's this whole layer of there's so much change happening so quickly, and org changes, meaning, there's a lot of layoffs going on. People are getting laid off. So the people who are still there are reporting to different people. A lot of my clients right now have had situations where they have had new CEOs come in and they might be reporting to the CEO, or they've had new leaders come in. And or people who have worked with somebody for a really long time and they're just really kind of butting heads with them. They're really struggling with them. So all of these layers of context are happening. And then, of course, again, you add in like just our everyday relationships where we butt heads with people. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what are some of the things and things to consider and the tools that I have been sharing with my clients based on my training and things that I put into practice myself, but also these are things that are based in the things that I'm certified and trained in. So based in things like not only interpersonal communication, which is what I have a degree in, but also based in, the coaching certifications that I have and the leadership trainings that I have about how to have effective communications, how to manage change, how to have great relationships. And so I wanted to share a couple of these things with you because, like I said, just within the last couple of weeks, I've had multiple conversations with my clients about helping them to see how what you own in the challenging relationships, and also like what is and isn't within your control, and what are some of the things that you can do. And one of the things that I see happen the most is we come in to these relationships. I'm gonna first I'm gonna talk about with like someone brand new. Okay, so let's just talk about like you're reporting to somebody new. You have a new boss, you have a new manager, or something like that, and we tend to come in with kind of blinders on and make a lot of assumptions and tell ourselves a lot of stories about that person or about that relationship, and it's influenced by a lot of things, right? So this is something that I always teach of, you know, the results that we're getting and the way that we show up in relationships and conversations is influenced by a lot of factors. It's not just like you don't just wipe a fresh slate like, okay, that I don't have that manager anymore, I now have this manager. Unfortunately, that's not what happens. That would help us go in the most open-minded, but that's not what happens. We have all these things influencing us. Like, was that person internal and now you knew them already and maybe they were a peer of yours and now they got the job, and so you've got that whole thing layered in there. Were they an external person and now you're coming in kind of skeptical, like who is this person, what are they going to change, and are they going to fit into the culture here? You've got the factors all around, like how satisfied are you already in the work that you're doing. Like we have all of these things that this like baggage that we bring into that new relationship with our manager or with this person that we're going to be working with. And that can really affect the way that you show up to build that relationship. And then I almost call it, what I tell it's like that self-fulfilling prophecy, where if we go in really skeptical, telling ourselves a lot of stories or making a lot of assumptions, then the way that we're showing up in conversations with that person is creating the thing that we don't want. Like if we go in with frustration and anger continually, and then all of a sudden we're like, well, this relationship isn't thriving. It's what part of that do you have to own? And this is where we really have to just kind of hold up that mirror and just be honest, not from a place of anger and frustration, right? And like guilt and all of that, but more from a place of just awareness. Like, what are the things that are clouding your ability to show up to that relationship clearly, open-minded, and I always say like with curiosity and being open to what do you need to do in order to create that relationship with that person that you want. So one of the things that I had recently done with a client of mine, this is a high level executive client, and she had some, I'll say, kind of baggage from a previous boss that she had had, and this new boss coming in knew this old boss. And so she already started to tell herself different stories around how this new boss was going to be. And also, even some things that this new boss was doing that triggered her because it reminded her of this other boss who she really liked and respected, but also there was some tension and some difficult things. And so she was really struggling to start to make a connection with this new boss. And so as we started to kind of coach through and talk through what could be going on, she started to realize how much she was putting that old relationship with that old manager onto this new manager, this new boss, and was really affecting and impacting the effective relationship that they could have right off the bat. And so really first to just get that awareness that that's happening and to call out those what we call energy blocks. So usually when I'm coaching clients and we're talking through these things, we're using energy leadership, which again, if this is something that you're interested in learning about, I do this individually. So for, you don't have to be a leader in an organization. You get a lot out of this just by being an individual. And if you're noticing that there's goals that you want to be reaching that you're not reaching, then energy leadership can be a huge thing. It's really effective to help you see how are you showing up when things are going well, how are you showing up under stress, and how is this impacting your ability to reach the goals that you have. I use it with individuals, with leaders, with teams. So if it's something you're interested in, pause right here and scroll down to the show notes and take a look a little bit more about energy leadership. And would love to share a little bit more with you about what you can get out of this for either you, your teams, your organizations. And so she had already gone through energy leadership. She was reading the book, so she was really familiar with it. And one of the things that we talk about is what blocks our energy, what blocks us from showing up from a place of high level energy, positive, curious, the place that we form really strong relationships where we have high level of satisfaction in our work and in our health and our wellness and our energy, all of these things that it affects. But we also talk about what are the things that block us, like literally, like these are like things that block us from being able to go to those higher levels. And so I was telling her about these 4 different energy blocks. And I'm just going to share a little bit because there was definitely a lot of moments where she realized, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee here. Got this warm cup of coffee sitting here and I don't want it to go cold while I'm talking with you. Okay, so I see this all the time, and whenever I share about these, whether it's one-on-one or if I'm doing this in a training and live in a workshop with people, a lot of ahas and light bulbs go off. Actually, I was running an emerging leader program with one of the organizations that I work with, and we were talking about the energy blocks and how that could be, and these were for people who were getting ready to step into leadership roles. And as we walked through this and I was explaining it and we were having open dialogue, someone raised their hand and said, wow, I had such an aha moment to realize how often I do this and how much it's affecting not only me, but the results that I want and the relationships that I want. And so we have these energy blocks. We have this inner critic, which is always the strongest one. We do a lot of work on this when I'm working with clients one-on-one, because this is the version of you that feels like you're not good enough, and that can really block your energy. We also talk about assumptions, which is assuming because something happened in the past that it's going to happen again. And that would be an example of like, because I had a boss who did this in the past, this one's going to probably do it again. Or that person, because they reacted that way in the past, they're going to do it again. And that one can be a really difficult one. Also, interpretations. Those are the stories we tell ourselves. Like, oh, they must just think I'm this way because, or they must not think I'm smart enough or capable enough, or I can't believe they did that. They must, not have a good work ethic. These stories we tell ourselves. And then limiting beliefs is the 4th one. And that one's more generalizations or stereotypes that we believe to be true that we can take on for ourselves. And then we might not go for something because of that. And so we were talking about these energy blocks. And as I was talking to her, she realized like how much those energy blocks were getting in the way of her having a thriving relationship with this new manager. And so first we needed to be aware of that. And then we need to talk about, okay, now what do you want to do with that? Like what? And then we actually set a vision. And I did this with multiple clients because I actually have multiple clients right now who are experiencing this change in leadership and just trying to come in with that fresh slate and be open and curious to this. And so then once we realize the things that were blocking the energy, we also set a vision. And so what I challenge them to do and what I challenge you to do is to think about what do I want this relationship with this person to look like? And again, this doesn't just have to be a boss. Any of these things, man, does this apply to personal relationships, to your friends, to your spouse, to partner, all of this. We tell ourselves story all the time. We make assumptions. Oh, they didn't do that. They didn't do the laundry last time. They're not going to do the laundry this time, right? And then we go into that conversation with them with all of this, with this tunnel vision. And it usually creates a fight or an argument or somebody retreating, right? And so the other thing that we did then is we set the vision of like, what do you want this relationship with this new supervisor, this new manager, this new boss to look like? What would a thriving relationship look like to you? If it's, and they started to talk about like having open communication, having trust, having transparency, like all of these different things. And then it's like, okay, so what could you do? What's like the first thing that you could do to help you get towards that? And often, it's different for everybody. Oftentimes it might be just becoming aware of those blocks that are getting in the way of having that type of relationship. It might be setting a meeting with them to share, just like making sure that you're both on the same page with maybe frustrations or fears or goals or things like that. It might be making sure that you're aligned on what it is and that your expectations. But you can see, hopefully you can start to see that you don't even get to that point and to that place of having an open conversation with them or thinking about what the relationship could look like if all of those other things are blocking you from being able to do it. And so I always say it's like moving from the tunnel vision to opening up your peripherals. I mean, how do I want this relationship to look like? And so I've been sharing this a lot from an organizational perspective, but also from that personal side of, when people are struggling with somebody and all of these things again, Even I know this stuff and I still, of course, do this all the time. Like we're human, but it's not about being perfect. It's about just trying. It's about realizing what part do you own. Because I also will hear people say a lot, well, it's not me, it's them. It's all them. Like, and I hear this a lot time with leaders too, is like, well, I'm doing this, I'm taking this course and I'm learning all of this stuff and I'm getting this coaching, but it's them. But you also have to realize that we can't control other people. We only can control ourselves. And so you need to realize what part of this do you own. And oftentimes by you changing your energy, by you changing the way that you're showing up, it changes the relationship because you're viewing it differently, because they all of a sudden realize, wow, they're being open-minded to this. Maybe I should be. And if not, we can release any of that and just go, I can't change them and I'm not going to let it affect me. Right. And so hopefully this is helpful and resonating with you, whether you are somebody who's a leader in an organization, you're leading teams, you have a new manager, or even again, you're just listening and you're like, wow, I've been really struggling with this relationship with somebody, with this friend, with this family member. And maybe one of those energy blocks are one of the things. Like, what stories are you telling yourself? What assumptions are you making? How is your own feelings of not feeling good enough affecting that relationship? And then really thinking about, what do I want this relationship to look like? And what could I do to help us get even one step closer to that? And I share that it's like, what would just be the one, like, we can't go, especially if it's a very toxic or we call catabolic, very destructive relationship or situation, it's not going to change in an instant. However, we always have options. We always have a choice. We can say a victim to it. We can say a victim to it. We can change our perspective on it, like we'll view it differently. We can take different action on it. We can accept it, which means truly accept it and not let it bother us, or we can leave it. Those are options. And that's the other thing that I'll share with my clients often is those are our choices. And when we come back to choice, we feel more empowered. And oftentimes we kind of have to go through those different stages, try a different perspective, try taking different action, and see where we can go and what we can do to take ownership and take accountability to help us get to a functioning relationship or even a thriving relationship. And so hopefully this was helpful. Again, if you're in a situation where you're experiencing a new manager or having a difficult conversation or having a difficult relationship personally or professionally. And again, like I mentioned, if you're somebody who wants to learn more about energy leadership and how this could not only help you personally in your business, if you're a business owner, this is really helpful to help you to see what is getting in the way of me getting the results with my business, with my clients, as a leader or someone who's aspiring into those leadership roles, and for teams. Like, how can we become a high performing team? Hopefully this is helpful for you and these tips help you. As always, please, one of the best ways that you can help support the podcast is if you love the episodes, leave a 5-star rating. It really helps. I never knew until I had a podcast how incredibly important it is for podcasts to just take that 1 minute to leave a rating and a review. Really helps to get in front of more people and gives more opportunities for the podcast. So please go ahead and just click that 5-star review and leave a quick review on what you love about the podcast, maybe a big takeaway from this episode. And of course, I'd love to hear from you as well. And I just want you to remember that it starts with you and that you have the ability to create the relationships and be surrounded with people that are going to help you thrive.